All right. So this has been a long time in the making. I'm hoping that this video reaches the right audience. I don't know who needs to hear this or who I need to talk to, but I'm hoping I can at least reach out to people who need this. This is just about my observation with social media and why I try to be very mindful about the spots I visit now. I don't think that social media is helping us the way it used to. The way we used to connect with our friends and family now. And I know that's quite the statement, but I hope that by the end of this, I can maybe convince you to think twice before you go on these platforms and spend half your life on it. The first thing I really noticed was when I was on social media, I was losing out on so many of the experiences in the real world. Like before I was genuinely like consuming this mindless garbage all the fucking time, I was doing different things like I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was hanging out with friends, I was playing video games, I was spending more time with my pets. I was going out for walks, I was meditating, going out into the wilderness, I was going camping, I would ride my bike. Like I know that these boomer memes we like to crap on sometimes, like back in my day, we went outside, but it's really true. Touch grass, motherfuckers. Like, go out and touch grass. Like, goddamn, touch grass. It, it, it's just brain rot to me. Because, like, it's all the time. It's like I can't catch a break of it. So, we might sort of know this, but, like, what do we do about it is the question that, we often ask ourselves. And I'd say one of the biggest ones is, like, swapping out habits. Like, if you quit smoking cold turkey, for example, it's likely that there's going to be a different habit that goes with that you're going to have to replace some sort of way or somehow, right? You're going to have to replace it somehow. So what do we sort of do is the question. Well, for me, what I personally found was finding a habit that kept me busy and like mentally engaged. Like, and that's the big difference. You don't want to just like do a habit that keeps you mindlessly busy, like playing fucking video games and jacking off 10 hours a day. You want to find a habit that keeps you busy and like, it doesn't even have to necessarily be productive, but in a mindful manner, right? Like it's not just done for the sake of doing it. So one of the biggest things I started to do was like I would buy books and I would just read them, and I would just read and read and read, and I'd go for a walk and I'd just meditate and contemplate on the day's events. Sounds simple, but it wasn't easy. When you're going through this bullshit for years, it takes years of work to sort of reprogram your brain. And it's fucked because I've seen thousands of comments. This isn't like just an issue with me. This is an issue with society at large, in which like we are constantly evolving and changing, and we're trying to figure out our life and how to navigate this field. And unfortunately, the truth is that for psychology will always be behind with the times. Unfortunately, it is, especially right now. Like we don't really know what to do to battle these billion-dollar companies that have gotten very good at using psychology, unfortunately, to keep your attention for longer and longer and longer and longer. I'm not saying you have to avoid this, and at the same time, well, why would you want to engage in something that doesn't really add value to your life? One really helpful thing that I found was before I start something to look at the excitement level I had, and then to check in periodically, like every 30 minutes or an hour. Especially if I'm gonna be doing it for more than an hour, I would want to make sure I'm checking in and I'm still having fun. And I'm not just like mindlessly engaging in it. People might not even be ready to do some of these hard things. And maybe you're not ready to change your mindset, but actions can help. So one big thing I personally did was I started cleaning my room. I started cleaning my environment. You know, I started picking up the floor and started sorting out my clothes by t-shirts, by pants, because I noticed that when you have a dirty environment, it tends to affect your mood. This isn't rocket science either. So, and it was also a lot easier than completely giving up social media at first. And so I just found that if I cleaned my environment, it would help me. Not only that, but it made me feel more productive. It made me feel like, a bit of a better person because I objectively did something that day. I had evidence in front of me that it wasn't just lying around rotting in a goddamn bedroom. The truth is, we're all different people, and this path to recovery, like some things I say are going to resonate with you and some things aren't. And that's perfectly okay. And keep in mind, this is only info. This is not medical advice. It's not really any type of advice. It's just my personal opinion, my story, what works for me. I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do. It's just for educational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing more, nothing less. So I wanted to grab something that would sort of put what I was saying into some type of perspective. Oh shit, hold on. Seems like my headphones got stuck there on my little stand. So here is what they call a Pellegrino, okay? And so I wanted to really break out of my soda habit because it was very addicting. And one way I found was it wasn't just the caffeine, but it was the carbonation. So that's good shit. Tastes awesome, feels great, and it keeps me hydrated. Way better than regular water, man. Keeps me hydrated. It's got some calcium in there too. If you drink the whole bottle, that's 12% of your daily amount of calcium. Man, that's pretty good. So it's about building mindful habits that will help you, in theory, replace some of these more toxic garbage habits that you have almost grown accustomed to without really reflecting on properly. And that's why I said to reflect on the things you're doing, because you might not even be aware of like how bad it is until like you're 5 years in, 10 years in. Denial can be one of the worst things. And that's why I really recommend getting the opinion of some friends and family. If you want to know like really how to help yourself out, ask the people who have successfully done it before, like, hey, how did you do that? And they can tell you and lead you that. One way I found is by just reaching out to friends and asking to hang out and just, using apps in a helpful manner. Like if I'm going to use social media, I'm going to use it in a beneficial manner. Like I'm going to reach out, text friends, I'm going to call people, and if I am going to play games, I usually set a rule for myself, which is I play games with a friend. I use it as a means to an end, right? So I can have my cake and I can eat it too. I get to do something with my friend that they find fun, and I still get to play some video games. I'm not saying you have to cut everything out. Because the truth is, a lot of people, like with alcohol, can drink responsibly every once in a while. Or even, like, some people can drink one like, glass of wine, like one little glass of wine a day, and they can be perfectly fine. Some people can have one beer a day, they can be perfectly fine. But then other people, they need complete abstinence. And that's why, like, looking at your family history can be so super duper helpful. And also just, like, asking yourself, is this a gamble you're willing to take, right? Like, genuinely, like, is it, worst case scenario, can you handle that? I'm not saying, like, that's necessarily what it's going to come to, but you have to weigh the potential risk with most things. The truth is, you know yourself better than I could ever know you, better than anybody else could ever know you. Nobody's going to be able to know you as well as you know yourself. And that journey requires you to do a lot of reading and a lot of thinking. So if you guys don't mind, what I want you to try to do with me real quick is just a meditation for just maybe 30 seconds or a minute. You can choose how long you want, right? And then we can go from there. But I just want you, for me, I'm just going to find, I think this is called Throtica, and it's like fixed point gazing, and I found that helps me a lot. You just find an object or something, right? Like for me, it's this bottle, right? And I just try to stare at the bottle, and you can modify it. I've modified it. I just stare at the bottle, and I just try to have no thoughts. I just observe and experience. Just look at the bottle. And I observe the colors, the size of the letters, the star, how much liquid is in it. Sometimes I'll grab it and I'll feel the weight of it too. The general idea here is that I'm looking at all the different aspects of this bottle and kind of getting to see things that I would not notice before had I just looked at it for like 1 or 2 seconds. If you've ever been in the bathroom, you might do this as almost like a way to keep yourself from being bored, where you read, like, if you don't have your phone, you read the back of a shampoo bottle or something. What I'm noticing is there's so much here I had not noticed before. It's really fascinating, to be honest with you. So, because YouTube's algorithm is designed to not really promote very long videos, I'm going to make a part 2 to this. But I want to sort of explain the idea. So the last point I want to make, sorry, I was talking to my partner, is reducing friction for good habits and increasing friction for bad habits, right? So if I have a piece of cake in front of me right here, right? Just right here, it makes it very easy to eat that piece of cake. But if I take that piece of cake and if I have a friend a couple houses away, if I give it to that friend a couple houses away, I've just now made it harder for when I feel hungry to go grab that cake. Or better yet, if I can take that cake and hand it to a friend a mile down the road, that'll be even better. And I can take like a fresh apple or something and put it here right in front of my desk for when I get hungry. If I'm going to run, I set my stuff out ahead of time for the run. I'll set my shoes, I'll set my clothes and everything. I don't have it all here, so when I'm ready to run, I can go right out the door. I don't have to overcomplicate stuff. I don't have to overthink stuff. And also the place I live, luckily, they have like a gym right literally across the street. So that makes it even easier, even better. And I can do that. And with the bad habits, again, like I create as much friction as possible. Instead of like, if you really want, one of the best things you can do if you want to quit smoking, as much as you might hate it, they talk about pouring the ball of wine down the drain, right? Yeah, absolutely. Throw the cigarettes away. Make a rule, or promise yourself that, like, if you're going to smoke, you have to go out to the smoke store. You have to go to a specific spot to get your cigarettes. You're going to find that you're going to do it a lot less if you're truly committed to it. It'll be hard, but, like, that's the trick. Like, people are looking for these answers, but some of it is just fucking hard. Sometimes the answer is really fucking hard. And getting used to that toughness is really important. I remember seeing this quote that was like, pray for the strength to handle a hard life and not pray for an easy life. And I thought, that really resonates with me. I like that a lot. I really think that coping skills is a good way of like learning how to handle tough emotions, because the truth is management is really important. Fixing is not often what happens. Keep in mind something that I find very important is when you're quitting addictions, you'll often find that there's not just one addiction, there's many different ones that range from like your most hardful ones to quit to your easiest ones, right? So for me, TikTok is a lot easier for me to quit than YouTube is to quit, right? So if I'm not ready for YouTube, it's like I can move on to the next thing and try that, right? Instead of getting stuck, it's like, okay, if you're doing a test, right, and there's a problem, and you have like question 12, and you don't know the answer to question 12, your best option is go and skip that one and come back to it when you have an answer, when you feel more confident. You don't want to spend, if you have an hour time, you don't want to spend 15 minutes of that hour on the test just sitting, staring at that question, trying to force the right outcome or answer. So you can go on to 14, 15, 16, whatever. Super helpful, makes it a lot easier. And you can come back to that afterwards and review it and reflect and see, if there's anything else. And if you're still not ready, that's okay too. Having some grace with yourself is super important, because sometimes we are our own worst critics. And we often do what I call logic without compassion, which is we make these very general statements like you should quit, you should stop doing this, you should spend more time with your family. And those are all true, factually. I agree with you. And at the same time, you already feel so much shame. How much more do you need? Can you state it in a more loving, compassionate way? Can you give yourself the unconditional love that you deserve? Whether you need it, want it, whether you think it's fair, everybody, I believe, who's on a path to recovery deserves some type of unconditional love, especially from themselves. Because you are doing something. You are trying. You have the desire. Even if you fuck up, you have the desire. And a change of perspective is super important. Like, yeah, you can point out all the things that you've done wrong and stuff, but at the end of the day, look how much effort you're putting into trying to do better. I think that's commendable, and I think you got to give yourself credit for that, man. Seriously. One thing I try to keep in mind is that, no matter how small it is, you are somebody's hero, even if it's in a little way. You're your partner's hero. Hey, there's Katya behind there. You might be your pet's hero. You might be the hero of like your boss or like your coworkers. You might be the hero of some random stranger, right? Somebody is looking up to you, right? Somebody is looking to you for guidance. Somebody is looking to you to motivate and inspire them. You are setting an example whether you accept that role or not for somebody. If you've ever been a parent, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, your children are looking to you to model behavior so they understand, okay, this is what dad did. Dad told me this, dad did this. So, I'm going to do that as well. And that can either be a really bad thing or it can be a really good thing. But at the end of the day, you get to decide that. All right. I'll do part 2 later, but I hope this will help a lot. I know it's just kind of like all over the place, but usually I try not to do like super scripted videos because I don't find that they're super helpful. They don't feel authentic to me. All right. Later, guys.